Guest that I have with me is somebody who has been known to be a very radical lawyer and then now veering also into politics, and then is going to be in the state of Osun. My guest is K-Rad. I don't want to mention his, I know him as K-Rad, but he's going to introduce himself. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much. Pleased
All right,
cool.
Briefly, we would like you to introduce yourself. The best way you love to be described to the audience.
Well, my name is Kunle Rasheed Adegoke, popularly known as K-Rad. In terms of maybe background, born in 1969 in Osogbo, and I grew up in Osogbo. I schooled in Osogbo before I went to the University of Ilorin between 1989 and 92, and later University of Lagos, 1995 to 2000. Later I became a lawyer in 2003. So here we are as a politician today.
As a politician, when did politics start with you, the journey into politics?
Well, basically, I'll trace it back. If you're talking about the conventional politics in town, aside from the student politics, I would say since since the year 1992-93, with the Hope 93 campaign of MK Abiola under SDP against NRC. So I came into conventional politics, going about with politicians and, coming from the radical wing of the SDP then. Subsequently, the fight against the military, Abacha's government, Abdul Salam, and subsequently, before the 1999 campaign dispensation began. So I was there in AD and subsequently in AC, ACN, and today APC.
You have a very tall experience in politics, actually. Why are you called K-Rad?
Well, that is a long story. I gained admission into the University of Ilorin in 1999, so, November 26, 1989. And resuming on that Sunday, a number of friends had been in school before me. They were a year my senior. They knew me when I was in the A-levels in the Osogbo Grammar School when I was doing my advanced level studies. While in the A-level days, I was expelled from the school, being a very radical element. I fought against the authorities on certain issues. So I was expelled summarily before intervention by my parents, and I was later reinstated. So they knew me since then. And when I came into the University of Ilorin and I started the agitation for the reinstatement of the students, this gentleman, Taiwo Fowe, and his brother, Muyiwa Fowe, started calling me Kunle Radika. And I was like, trying to caution them, gentlemen, stop this. They won't listen. So, and that was how the name got stuck. Over time, they said, okay, we'll funkify it. KRad, Kunle Rad. So it became the name.
And then you accepted it.
Well, I didn't even have a choice. So, considering what I did thereafter, I believe that definitely the name must stick.
So we learned that you are now beginning to contemplate contesting for governorship in Osun State, or State of Osun as it is called.
Right.
Why the decision? Because a lot of people would prefer that they want to reach the highest of heights in their profession, like become SAN, and then from there they want to start influencing so many cases in the country legally. Okay. But why the choice to veer into politics? Who is the person you looked up to say, okay, this is a person I want to follow? Right. Would it be Gani Fawemi, because he also later decided he wanted to go into politics?
Right. Well, Gani Fawemi is a role model to me. However, I think I have a taller character when it comes to conventional politics, and that is Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And I believe that is the principal character that I want to consider a rival in history. A rival in history in the sense that I want to surpass his achievements, the credibility that he gathered over the years with credible delivery of services to the people. Is something that I believe that I can surpass. And fundamental is the fact that the idea of coming out to contest for the governorship slot in Osun in 2018 and not 2019, as you earlier mentioned.
I forgot seeing Osun as a different timetable.
Exactly. Came up sometimes in 2011, shortly after the inauguration of the government of Ogbeni Aregbesola. And my thinking was that, okay, now by now, the government would have been able to deliver up to a stage where it would be convenient for somebody like me who shares the aspiration, of developmental progress for the state to come into the saddle. So since then, I have been brainstorming, thinking, researching, writing, and developing my thoughts on how I want to govern the state. So over time, I've developed it so much into a blueprint that I believe is convenient to take care of the challenges confronting the state. And when it comes to that, I think I have the best. So at this particular stage, sometimes March 2017, I unveiled my plan to the public. And since then, I've been having a lot of consultations with the people, leaders of the party, members of the public, and it's been a fantastic ride because to a large extent, my credibility speaks for me, my past achievements speak for me, and today I can say that with what I've experienced so far with the people, we're coasting on to victory.
So does this look like you are anchoring after program of Aregbesola? Is it continuity of Aregbesola, or is it a different pattern altogether that you're bringing in?
It must be a continuity of Aregbesola with a fundamental developmental stride that will complete things that, you know, that will ultimately take care of the interest of the people. There are certain things when it comes to infrastructural development. He has fantastically done well, and we can't leave all those things to rot away. What we suffer in this part of the world is that, you know, we don't have culture of maintenance, and we don't build on what the predecessors have left behind. So in Osun, we are going to ensure that those schools, those fantastic schools, those beautiful roads, those infrastructural things that he has achieved, you know, are sustained. We are going to develop more, you know, on them. 100% development on those things that he has done. Areas where there are, you know, some inabilities of the state to meet the expectations of the people right now, which is not peculiar to Osun. It's something that is actually affecting Nigeria as a whole. When the economic crisis, you know, hit Nigeria as of 2013, 2014, and fundamentally in 2015, that the recession actually set in, it affected the state of Osun and affected so many states. So today it's still affecting the state of Osun. So our belief is that in terms of economic rebuilding, in terms of economic revival, that is the area where we have so much to do. So in that respect, we are going to ensure that certain things, and no government can do it all. No government, no matter how fantastic our own ideas can even be today, no matter how many efforts or how much efforts we are going to put in, there is no way we can do it all. We will still get to a point where somebody else can come in and continue. To that extent, if you look at it, we will say that the economic situation in Osun calls for a total rebuilding.
Well, let us now move on to the aspect of, because it is not cheap to contest in Nigeria especially,
right?
And you're a lawyer.
Sure.
Have you raked in enough money, or are you relying on some government? Okay, some people even said that KRad is an anointed candidate of Aregbesola. Okay. Are you the heir apparent?
And I've heard him say it, that look, as a Democrat, he wants to give room for democracy to fully unfold within the party. So we are going to, all aspirants are going to, anybody who is able to obtain the form of the party, you know, will come out and contest at the primary. Whoever wins. If I win, I want all others to work with me. If I lose, I'll work with whoever is the winner. So, but, you know, it won't be, people have this consciousness of, okay, what if Ogbeni says he doesn't want to? Ogbeni would not say he doesn't want me. He doesn't have any reason to say that. So, you know, so I believe that we've come a long way. So
now I want to ask, do you know, it's possible that you are happy with some of the things that he is doing, or so many things, or almost all of them.
Right.
But are there one or two policies in the states currently, you know, policies by Ogbeni Aregbe that you would feel like, oh, if I come in, I want to modify? Right. Are there one or two? What are they?
Well, I think this question has been asked before, and when I look at it, no government has the best policy in all circumstances. Even the best, the policies of Obafemi Awolowo that we all feel, you know, are the best in terms of maybe the developmental delivery that we have experienced so far. There are areas where people feel that, okay, there must be some changes. Even Ogbeni himself, some policies that we probably developed in let us say, in year 2010, 2011. Today, given the opportunity, you probably will want to do some things, you know, differently. So when it comes to maybe agricultural, the sector, for instance, I would say that, okay, so far, with the steps that he has taken, there is a soil map in place that has identified what can grow in one area, what cannot grow in another. There is what we call the land bank, you know, by which, okay, there is huge information on land available in Osun. And then, you know, the only thing is that, okay, that I feel that probably I want to take some bold steps on is the relationship between the government and the family landowners and, you know, the investing public. There are companies that are interested in agriculture, for instance. So I want to make sure that, okay, there is a kind of agreement between the government and those families by which we are going to, the government is approaching them, you are the owner of your land, we are going to even give them CFO with respect to their land. So there will be evidence, that is certificate of occupancy. There will be evidence that will serve as evidence of ownership, you know, on their part. Then on our home part, okay, now we want to use the land. Then there will be that agreement. It's going to be something multilateral. So the investing public, let us say companies that are interested in agricultural investment, would approach us, then there will be a synergy. Another area is that, okay, in terms of, exploring the national and the international markets, today, the state of Osun has no, or let me say, okay, I'm aware that, okay, there is a high court decision that says that we should be saying Osun State. We feel that on appeal probably will, it might be reversed. But in places like Saudi Arabia, where thousands of our people go every month, Osun should have a market there. Osun ought to have a market there. It's going to earn us a lot of foreign exchange. When our people travel for Hajj, when they travel for Umrah, they pack huge loads of food, which the airlines will reject. Will say, look, this is too heavy, we can't carry this luggage and whatever. But by the time you say that, okay, what they are going to, the amount they are going to buy food there in Saudi is it's just a little bit higher than what they are going to buy at home. They will prefer to take money along. Then once we have a market there that is ready to cater for our people, there's hardly a Nigerian that can stay abroad for more than 2-3 weeks without eating home food. So that is one peculiarity about an average Nigerian. So by the time we have that, you discover that, okay, we are going to earn a lot of foreign exchange. Then in a place like Lagos, it's my desire that Osun must have an Osun market. So these are steps we intend to take higher than what the current system can afford. And they don't have more than 8 years. This is the 8th year. So wherever they are going to stop, these are the things that we want to introduce into it. In Lagos alone, if we target just 10% of the minimal, the list of Lagos consumption, we are going to make 9 billion naira every month. You might wonder, 9 billion naira every month, is this man dreaming? No, we are not dreaming. Let me give you this. When I came up with this idea in 2009, and I feel that, okay, it's an idea that we must exploit, explore. If an average Lagosian spends only 200 naira to feed every day, which is impossible. 200 naira cannot feed somebody even at a sitting. But let us assume that an average Lagosian spends only 200 naira to feed a whole day. And we are set to be about 20-25 million in Lagos. I cut it to 15 million. Let's say we don't have more than 15 million people in Lagos. And each person spends 200 naira per day.
On meal.
Okay. Just to feed every day. The implication is that, okay, Lagos eats nothing less than 3 billion naira worth of food every day.
Okay.
Lagos consumes nothing less than 3 billion naira food every day. If Osun is able to supply 10% of that, that means we are going to make 300 million naira every day. In a month, in 30 days, that is 9 billion naira. Cool money. So all we need to do is that, okay, we are not going to contest with the market in Mile 12. That one is already owned by a cartel. It's owned by a monopoly. So we must have our own market. If I have a market, let us say, in a place like Ikeja, here, somewhere in Ikeja, that I'm able to acquire, it might be towards Agege or, that I'm able to acquire somewhere where I can say this is Osun market, where there will be regular supply on a daily basis of fresh food.
Particular food exactly?
No, no. We're talking about, for instance, corn, cassava, the normal, vegetable, staple food, gari and what have you, processed, unprocessed, and what have you, assuming that we have a regular market of that nature. The implication is that people from, let us say, something starting from Yaba, down to Ikeja, down to Agege, to Abaronje, Ikotun, Egbe, Alimosho, yes, exactly. Even Moshin, down to Isolo. Yes. The population that I mentioned in all these areas is more than 30% of Lagos. It's more than 30%, meaning that, okay, I can.
But they are not necessarily stopping by.
No.
People are passing.
No, people are passing. But, in terms of markets, people come to markets from different angles. And the moment it is as cheap as the amount you can buy it in Osun, people will patronize us. The implication is that, okay, we are going to have a huge patronage, of people in that market. That is with respect to food supplies. So from where I believe that we can generate nothing less than 9 billion naira every month. Then talking about cash crops. The moment we start with food preservation, the moment you are able to do a lot of conservation and whatever, you discover that there is no way we will not be making something close to 15 billion. Then look at our tourism angle, because we have 3 areas fundamentally we are looking at for reviving the economy. Agriculture, because for instance, I will tell you this. I know of a poultry farmer in Osun who buys up to about 10 trailer loads of corn from Katsina every week. So if one trailer load of corn is sold for 1 million naira, and he buys up to about 10 every week. That means 10 million naira is leaving this man in Osun to go to Kashina. Then in a month, he's spending about 40 million naira, and he's only one poultry farmer. There are many others like that. That means that we are not producing enough corn to meet his personal demands. If I do monocropping from Ikire to Ilesha alone, and I make it just corn fields, just as they do in California, from Visalia to from Fresno to Visalia to Tulare. It's cornfield on the right, cornfield on the left, cornfield.
And all of these are feasible in Osun State.
In fact, too feasible. Because
let's now go into education. What about education? Because there was a time there was crisis. I mean, controversy about faith-based schools being crushed, and then they're trying to unify all schools at some point. What's your own policy on education?
Right. Fundamental is, when you're talking about education is not a money-yielding venture immediately.
Yes.
So you must look for an economy to sustain it. Right now, the state is not in the best form when it comes to financial abilities. And on that basis, that is why I first of all say that my manifesto has rebuilding the economy as the first thing. So the moment we are able to achieve some minimal things from the beginning, we're going to have more money that we can put into education, because 27% of our budget ought to go into education. The moment we are able to adequately finance this, take care of the welfare of teachers, train and retrain teachers, you discover that there will be changes in the lives of the people. Then we are going to have another educational summit. The government had one in 2010, in 2011, I think. So the government had an educational summit where people preferred solutions to the educational challenges confronting the state, because we know that, the performance of our wards, was not something to reckon with as at that point. I think about 3% of students who start for WAEC passed then. So the governor and the government were deeply concerned about this. There was the educational summit. Now, we are going to review what the government has been able to achieve so far with the suggestions made at the educational summit of 2011. I'll see whether it is desirable to continue with that. The contending forces, because way back in 1975, the government of Osun, then the government in Oyo, took over the private schools, the missionary schools and what have you, paid them money, and some of them, they gave them the option. Should we still continue calling it CSC Grammar School or Ansarudin Grammar School and some other things like that? And some of them felt like, no, we don't, you can change the name. But the government felt that, look, to even preserve the legacy, it would be better to just continue calling it the schools by the original names. And that is why the schools still retain their names. But over time, you see that Osun became so volatile when it comes to religious attachments and, some wishy-washy sentimentalism, based on religious, sentiments, and it's uncalled for. So now that there are agitations for return of schools to the missionaries and what have you, we are going to have another stakeholder forum where people will come, arguments will be, it's going to be on persuasion that people will see it and the government will see if it is most desirable to give the schools back to them, or so there is nothing we are going to put as a fait accompli on the people. We are going to give them the opportunity to push arguments across. And at the end of the day, if the persuasion is more with government retaining the schools, that means that, because when we return the schools back to these people, it reduces the burden on the government. We don't have to look for money to meet some of these demands, to provide this, to provide that for private schools again. But by the time, if the resolution is that, the government is the best provider of education and we should continue, that means we have to work harder and ensure that these schools are well maintained. We want to give a stiff competition to the private schools.
But looking at some specific education projects, for example, with Ogbeni Aregbe, there was this Poimo project, and then, how far with it? Are you also going to continue, or will you also bring up a special education project that will also look at another thing? No, maybe not tablets this time, maybe laptop.
Opoimo it should be a permanent feature. Whatever is the deficiency now that people may feel is attributable to the Opoimo, we only need to perfect it. If a government comes in and drops that, only to go back to the rubric, to the textbooks, just the distribution of textbooks, it is costlier. It is costlier to distribute textbooks and what have you. So the appointment, I believe, is a laudable venture. In fact, so many organizations have commended, even WAEC, commended it. And, I think it's something that Nigeria needs to embrace. It's something that Nigeria needs to embrace. All we need to do is to ensure that, there will be sufficient production of appointment to go around all the students and even the teachers.
All right, now let's now begin to look at other, general issues. There's a global agitation now for young persons to come into governance. What's your view? What's your reaction, especially with Nigerians coming into politics as young persons?
Right.
What's your own view on not too young to run, especially looking at 2018 in Osun and 2019 in Nigeria?
Sure. I support the not too young to run campaign. That's why I'm coming out. I'm not too young, and neither am I too old. So, it's only unfortunate that it's only in Nigeria you have only old men, and women determining the fate of the people. The history of Nigeria from the beginning is a catalogue of youth participation in governance, in qualitative governance. Look at it. People like Chief Obafemi Awolowo rose to the position of leadership at the age of maybe 40, 41, thereabout. People like our dear professor of the Lagos Business School, I think became a minister at the age of probably about 29 or 30. People like MT Mbu at the age of 29 or 30. The former head of state, Gowon, I think maybe probably at the age of 30-something. Muritala at the age of 30-something. He was killed at the age of maybe 39 or thereabouts. So these were young people. So you can say, and I may bold to say, that history of politics in Nigeria is one of youth participation in qualitative leadership. So now, over time, those people grew old, and they still retain the leadership position. But mind you, I'm not blaming the old, old brigade, for retaining power for so long. If the young ones are not ready to take over the leadership of the nation, it is not something, power is never served a la carte. Apology to Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So you must struggle for it. You must take it. So not necessarily by gun, but by politics. We have 65% of Nigerian population dominated by youths. The implication is that if we should contest an election tomorrow, the youth will win. But these are the same youths that follow the whole brigade about and saying Babari Babake, step on us and go over. These are the same people that are promoting these so many discredited politicians. Now at the level of Nance, they are giving them awards. And what have you? I've never heard of such a thing before. There are some youths that are saying anybody who doesn't have 2 billion naira that he can set on fire should not come and contest the governorship in Osun. That's a young man that has never made 100,000 naira in his life, talking like that. So if somebody can set fire on just 1 million naira, I mean, it's not compost-mental. It's not somebody that you can say is sane enough to govern a society. So what we are doing is, we want to re-engineer our society.
But as a follow-up to that one, if a young person, because you are interested also in young persons, and as a young person you are also coming out, would you support a young person against, if President Muhammadu Buhari contests against 2019, would you support a young aspirant for presidency against President Muhammadu Buhari from your party?
Sincerely, the moment I'm satisfied that he has better policies and programs, ideas than President Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, I will be willing to persuade President Muhammadu Buhari that, look, can't you see that this young man is saying something? He has, he has the credentials that can prove, that can prove Nigeria is a progressive society that is capable of, modern civilization rather than maybe what some people are thinking today. I will be willing to even talk to somebody like President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm not saying that I have his contact, but I'm telling you that I'll be willing, or if on the pages of newspapers, even by personal letters and what have you. But I wouldn't want just to support a young man.
All because he's young, because of the campaign.
So if he's young but he doesn't have the experience we are talking about is not maybe having been in government before. You don't have to be in government before you excel. Awolowo was never in government before he became the leader of government business. If the requirement had been that had he served as commissioner before, had he served as maybe minister before, Awolowo would be disqualified. Awolowo would be disqualified. He wouldn't be qualified. But, he came into government and gave the best rates, the consuming passion, the intellectual sagacity with which he attended to government business is fantastic. But in closing, I just want to ask this one. This one relates to your profession and at the same time, the politics you're actually veering into. As a lawyer, for instance, we learn that sometimes, when politics get to the
point where it is so tight, they will now come out, approach you and say, oh, how about we give you sand? We give you this, we give you that. They now start bringing offers and say, step down, let us give you this.
No, they can't give me the offer. Nobody can give you the position of sand. Nobody can elevate you by, I don't know, it probably might have been done before, but I want to believe that in law today, it ought to be a position of merit. As I'm sitting here today, I merit being a son. I've been making applications. Reasons have not been given could be that, okay, they are going to select maybe 19 people out of more than 100. So I may not immediately make it now. But as far as requirements are concerned, I have more than the requirements as I'm talking to you.
So somebody may just come and influence it for you.
No.
And then say, how about you just come down?
I don't want the influence, because the person, whoever influences it, will have a hold on me. Will have something to use to castigate me in future. I have never taken anything on the basis of patronage. It's always been on merit, and that is what I appreciate. Then some people, even some politicians, I would say even illiterate politicians have asked me this question: that what about they wouldn't want to follow me and get to a stage where they will now say they have persuaded him to go for something else or to wait for his turn. It is never turn by turn. Governance should not be turn by turn. It is never done like that in the civilized world. We should be part of the civilized and democratic world. So nobody can approach me now and I'll say, let them give you Senate. No, I'm not coming out to govern the people just to be relevant. People who are looking for relevance or are looking for wealth may be persuaded, with the idea of, okay, let's give you House of Reps slot or senatorial slot and what have you, wait for till another time. No, I'm going for governorship, and it is governorship. That is the only position in which I can executively affect the lives of the people positively. And that is what I am looking at. I have my manifesto, I have my agenda, I have the blueprint, I have the roadmap that will lead Osun to prosperity. I can't just abandon that and then I'll jump to the House of Reps or Senate, to do what? No, I'm not saying that they are positions that people must vie for. They are positions because it is an arm of government, that is very, 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 very important to governance, because we have 3 arms of government. So the legislature, there must be people there. But look, there is something that everybody is caught for. There are people who are better policymakers, lawmakers. Yeah. What I'm going into governance for is not maybe just to be relevant or to be able to make money. No, the money that I need in terms of maybe personal survival and taking care of my family and what have you, God has already guaranteed that. The money I'm looking at, even the money that I'm spending right now, is not even for me or my family. It is for other people. In terms of social responsibility, I'm not too wealthy, but I'm comfortable. So, and that is all you require. So, if you look at it, the essence of coming out is not for me to get something. Just give me something. So, I won't negotiate governorship for anything else. So, I'm going for it. If I lose, I will go back and re-strategize and support whoever is the governor to make it better. I will make my ideas available to him. These are my ideas. These are the ways I believe you can do it to make life more abundant for the people. You get the point?
Thank you so much. It's a wrap already, and that's K-Rad. You've heard it from him. He's contesting for governorship in Osun 2018. Well, you've seen it, and we wanted to just analyze his speech, analyze what he said so far, and then make your decision based on how convinced or how persuaded you are. And it's a wrap already. My name is Shegun once again. Until I come your way again, keep talking about things that matter.